just to be different, we're going to have the reflection first and then the gospel. I know, right? That's why my head's a bit on screw with. Can someone go and get my glasses out of the vestry, please? Because, you know. Thank you. It's always good to have a sidekick, I tell you. So today we have a really long, dramatic, I suppose, rendition of the gospel. We use artistic license to tell the story. And I can't be serious while he's being an idiot. Thank you. I love you too. Today we are doing things a bit differently. So I mean that instead of having, so we normally have the gospel reading. I don't ever remember doing the sermon before the gospel reading, but here we go, something a little bit different. Today we're having a time of reflection after the gospel reading, all right? So it's a big reading, it's got lots in it. I'm going to give you a minute, probably a whole minute, which seems like a long time when you're sitting in church in silence, to sit and reflect on what you've heard, how it affects you, how you experience it, how you hear it, how you notice it. It is dramatic. We have taken artistic license. It's not point for point from one gospel. We kind of have used sections from all four of the gospels, telling the passion from one artistic perspective. So during the reading of the Passion, sit, because it's long, you don't want to be standing, unless you feel you need to stand, and then that's okay as well. After the reading, as I said, we'll be sitting in a time of silence. But for now, we recognise that we sit right on the cusp of another Easter. And for some of us, me included, this feels like the first proper Easter in a while. We've had 2 years of massive disruptions in life with COVID. It feels like maybe this Easter day will be the first one that's normal, if there's any such thing. Many of us have done Easter many, many times, and some of us have not, and that's okay. For me, this Palm Passion Sunday and the movement into Holy Week, which is the next week that we come into, is a both and time. It's like a scale, both and. Earlier we began this service in jubilation and celebration as we welcome Jesus, waving our branches and singing Hosanna. Next we tell of his brutal passion. And then, because we're post-Easter people, we move into the great Thanksgiving and the sharing of his life-giving flesh anew. And we do this with 2 brand new communicants, Heath and Blake. But still we go through this. So I thought, because I wonder often, if you've ever wondered why we tell the story of the Passion a full week before Easter, before we even get to Good Friday. Who's wondered that? Who's wondered why we put the Palm and the Passion together on the same day? Good, I'm glad it's not just me. We move from this space of jubilation right alongside the marking of Jesus' murder. On the same day we mark it, within, a few minutes of each other. So I did some digging. There's actually not a lot of theological evidence, there's a little bit, around putting Palm Sunday and Passion Sunday together. It's more of a liturgical expression. It's relational. Some people, no matter what time of year it is, only come to church on Sundays. So if you only come to church on this Sunday, and then only come to church next Sunday, you kind of miss the whole gamut of the Passion by not being here. You go from jubilation to jubilation and you miss that emotional movement. So once upon a time, a long, long time ago, it's not really a fairy tale, before anyone marked the why or the when, the tradition in the liturgy became to put them together, so that those people who only ever came once a week, and often that was for good reasons, they travelled 20 plus miles by, horse or foot to come to church, put them together. For those of us who do come to most, if not all, of the Easter services over Holy Week into Easter Day, the focus isn't so much from triumph to triumph, with just the knowledge of grief thrown in the middle, but it's more about the both and, that balance, and the movement. We move from triumph through to grief, back to triumph, and out again. They are strange and unusual bedfellows, but they work cohesively. We marry the grief of the Passion, which is not just about murder and betrayal and disillusion and pain and suffering, with the joy of the resurrection, which carries hope and peace and tenderness and understanding. Most of us will use this time as a focal point or a place marker. I'm sure Heath and Blake will use it as a memory marker for the day when they receive communion for the first time. And we temper it because we know what's true. We are post-Easter people. We read to the end of the book first. We got to the back page. We know what happens. And we temper everything we go through, the whole gamut of emotions between triumph, grief, triumph, with what's going on in the world, the Ukraine, Afghanistan, COVID, with what's going on in your own life, health issues, mobility issues, memory issues, struggles with life, movement, from physically from one place to another, emotionally from one place to another, and spiritually from one place to another. And all the way through we remember that we are already post-Easter people. We already know the truth. We already know Jesus didn't stay dead. We already know that triumph and glory of the resurrection day. And we celebrate it every Sunday as we come to the great Thanksgiving. So perhaps as we move into this space, this Holy Week space, you could ask yourself some questions about what is the both and in your life at the moment? What's going on for you that's seems to be at opposing odds, but has to live together in your life? What tensions are you holding? Physically, emotionally, spiritually? How can you use this time, this space, this movement from today to next Sunday and everything that we will go through as a backdrop to your own reflections? I encourage you to do it. If you've never done it before, get a pen and paper and start journaling it. You will be so surprised when you read it back later. And you don't have to come from a God perspective. You can come from a personal perspective and see where God is in the middle of it. You can think about it, reflect on it, and then pray about it. But for now, we're going to move into the gospel reading. We're going to spend about 30 seconds just sitting quietly while all the readers come up, and because we've got a few different people who are reading, and we're going to move. So we'll just move now because the camera has to move as well.